What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fann of showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And this evening, I'm joined by my good friend Michael D'Arcy of KC Sports Report to talk a little bit about the Kansas City Chiefs' path to Super Bowl LIX and what that might entail. Now, an angle that I wanted to take on this, Michael, is what team should the Kansas City Chiefs be trying to avoid? Not that they control it, but what team should we be hoping come wild card weekend doesn't make it out to face the Chiefs in the divisional round? I already have a team in mind who I do not want to see. But Michael, if there was one team you could pick out and said, I don't want the Chiefs to face that team in the divisional round, who would it be?
You know, I think we're actually thinking of the same team. I think it's actually going to be the Los Angeles Chargers. And not because I don't think the Chiefs couldn't beat the Los Angeles Chargers. The issue is when you face a divisional team 3 times, anything could happen. Something crazy and out of the ordinary could happen. And if that's the case, I don't want the Kansas City Chiefs to potentially have to face, the Chargers for a 3rd time. Who knows how that could go?
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same. You already know that. It's just really difficult to beat the same team 3 times in one season, let alone a division opponent. And also, when you look at the games that these 2 teams have played this past season, both of them were very, very close. And in fact, the second one came down to that Matthew Wright doink field goal for the Kansas City Chiefs. They ended up clinching the division in that game, but that game could have very easily went the other way. Same thing with the Chargers game earlier in the season. That one was on the road in LA. Justin Herbert made that one really tough for this team, and that was the game in which Rashee Rice sustained his season-ending injury. But yeah, I mean, the Chargers are a team out of all of them that I think I don't want to face, because when you look at teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Houston Texans, I don't really mind facing either of those teams because the Chiefs rolled both of them pretty much, or also rather recently. Mm-hmm. And I thought the offense looked probably the best they have all season in those 2 games in particular. So I'd be really confident in a matchup against one of those teams. Steelers, most of all, because of the quarterback disparity. I mean, it's Russell Wilson, who the Chiefs sacked 5 times without Chris Jones. They have not been playing well recently. They look like they're ready for their season to be over. I mean, props to Mike Tomlin for keeping that team afloat every single year, but they just do not stack up with a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. That would probably be the easy choice for me for the team I do want to face. And then the Denver Broncos, they're an interesting one because that's another team. Hey, it's hard to beat them 3 times in 1 year, although they lost the last game of the regular season, but the Chiefs didn't play their starters in that game. Probably would have won if they played their starters and they really wanted to take the Broncos out of the postseason. But I've been impressed by Bo Nix in his rookie season. He has a certain moxie to him, and that defense is nasty. So I wouldn't really be excited to see them either. But out of all those teams, Michael, I just think the Los Angeles Chargers is the team that you want to stay away from the most.
I agree. I think that either one of the Broncos or the Chargers could give this Chiefs team, some headaches in that divisional round. But at the same time, I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win each and every single time. But We're talking about which team would be the worst matchup, and playing a divisional team for the 3rd time in a season, it doesn't go well. And we've seen historically the Chiefs have been on the losing end of some of those matchups. And so if you could avoid playing the Chargers or the Broncos in the divisional round, I would prefer that. Like you said, Pittsburgh, that offense doesn't scare me. Russell Wilson, come to Arrowhead, bring it on. I'm not concerned about you. The Houston Texans, ever since they lost Tank Dell, it's like that team has basically been packing it in. And so I don't think that either one of those teams is really that big of a threat to beat the Chiefs. But, with divisional matchups, anything can happen. And listen, it would be a very Chiefs thing to lose to a divisional opponent after having all of this rest for, the past 3 weeks. And I just don't want to see it happen. I want to see the Chiefs get the, best matchup for them in the divisional, get to the AFC Championship game relatively healthy, and then we'll play Buffalo, or then we'll play Baltimore. But I think the best path includes going through either the Texans or the Steelers.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said 100%. Now, another question I had for you, though, is out of the teams that we're talking about that the Chiefs could see in the divisional round, there are a couple that have a chance to knock off the Baltimore Ravens or the Buffalo Bills. While there's some teams, Michael, we would prefer not to see, which game or which team do you think has the best chance to produce an upset where a team like the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens get knocked out? Because as much as we're talking about one of these teams that we don't want to see, I think we'd all rather face one of them if it meant that you didn't have to see Buffalo or Baltimore later on. So which team are you looking at in that case?
Honestly, I think there's a chance that Pittsburgh could beat Baltimore. And that sounds crazy considering, how bad Pittsburgh has been. But if I had to place my money down and say which team I was, confident could pull off an upset, I think it would be the Denver Broncos over the Buffalo Bills. And the reason that I say that, I'm not a believer in Buffalo's defense. I think that they're weak. I know that they have a decent secondary with some pieces. The issue is they can't stop anybody, and teams can run the ball against the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Broncos aren't really a big threat to do that. They didn't really run the ball very well this season. Now, that did change in Week 18, but I think I would have run the ball effectively against that defense of the Chiefs. So I do think that Denver's going to have a shot. Bo Nix is going to have to play well and not turn the ball over. But, I mean, Josh, if we're just looking at it, Denver has a better defense, and if Bo Nix can be comparable to Josh Allen in this game, saying that he doesn't turn the ball over and that he has relatively the same numbers, who's to say that Denver can't go into Buffalo and win?
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit on your channel, and I'm right there with you. I think that Denver has the best chance to pull off an upset in that wild card round because their defense is nasty. Again, Bo Nix has a certain moxie to him. If Sean Payton is able to game plan relatively well and keep the offense in a form where Bo Nix is able to be effective and make some nice throws without being a risk to turn the ball over, then that will put them in really good position to potentially beat the Buffalo Bills, who have not really played their best football in the second half of the NFL season.
Well, not only have they not played their best football, I will point out that they rested their starters in Week 18 and lost to the Patriots, and we're not hearing anything about that. I guess Josh Allen did play the first snap so he could continue his consecutive start streak, which maybe says something about certain players wanting certain accolades over a Super Bowl. But I feel like you've seen over the past couple of months that there's been very high highs of the Bills going and beating the Lions in Detroit, but there's also been lows of losing to the Rams. And so I do think that in both of those games, by the way, the Bills defense gave up like 40-something points to both teams. So let's not act like Buffalo's defense is going to change overnight. And so Bo Nix could absolutely go in there and drop a couple hundred yards, maybe 300-400, and then have a couple passing touchdowns. He might run one in himself. The question is going to be, does he revert to Bo picks? Is he going to throw two interceptions? And if he doesn't do that, listen, Denver's defense is going to give them a shot to win that game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's going to be exciting to see. I'm going to have my eyes on that game. But my last question for you, Michael, in this video is, what does an ideal path to the Super Bowl look like for the Kansas City Chiefs? What would be the best, easiest path in your mind? And then what would be the most difficult?
Well, I mean, if we want to go crazy talk here, we could have both Bills, Ravens, let's just say the highest seed wins all of their games. So that means the Chiefs would have to play the Chargers in the divisional round, or would it be the Texans? No, it would be the Texans.
Get the lowest
right?
remaining seed. They'll get the lowest remaining seed.
So I think that would be the Texans, which actually wouldn't match up that. Let's say, okay, the roughest path to the Super Bowl, I think would have to play the Chargers in the divisional and then having to play Buffalo in the AFC Championship game.
Okay.
Most favorable, I think, would be either Houston or Pittsburgh. And then depending on, who you're able to get, listen, I understand the Baltimore Ravens are a good football team. They can run the ball. I would rather play Baltimore in the AFC Championship game than play Buffalo in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, give me the quarterback that has yet to prove it in the postseason and that has always choked against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs when it matters the most. That's Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen.
I feel we could talk about a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah. Well, Josh Allen, though, he doesn't choke against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just that Patrick Mahomes is always that 1% better, and it allows his team to win the game. Josh Allen has been masterful in all the playoff matchups he's gone up against the Kansas City Chiefs to this point. Really, it's just been the Chiefs being that 1% better and doing enough to advance. So I agree with you. Pittsburgh, that's the easiest divisional matchup in my mind. And then I'd rather have Baltimore in that championship game. And then I agree with you as far as the most difficult. That would probably be the Chargers and then Buffalo. So that is all we have for this video, guys. But we want to hear from you down in the comments. Which teams would you like to see the Kansas City Chiefs face or stay away from in the AFC playoffs? What does an ideal path look like to you? But with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And then, Michael, before we go, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report. That's kind of the one-stop shop for everything that I do. Also, go check out my work on the AFC West Roundtable. Me picking the Broncos to potentially upset the Bills is probably going to get me in a lot of good graces with the Broncos fans. And you guys can represent the Chiefs Kingdom over on the AFC West Roundtable every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
There you guys have it, and all of Michael's stuff will be down in the description below, as well as a link to the AFC West Roundtable show that Michael does weekly. You guys should check that out. And then go subscribe to Michael over on KC Sports Report. As far as me, you can check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com. That's all we have for you guys in this one. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. And lastly, go Chiefs.